Square Cow Countdowns. I think I would make a great casting director. Okay, maybe not great, but I would definitely make better choices than the ones in this video. Why, you ask? Well, because our topic is 10 casting mistakes in superhero movies. Ready, set, go! Here we are in the final video of the superhero special. Just like in the DC Extended Universe video, this list isn't really a top 10 either. Instead, it's just 10 bad casting choices in no particular order. Reason being is that although all these performances are bad, everybody will have differing views about what order they should be in. I originally conceived the script as a top 10, but then when I went back to fine-tune it, I decided to rework it into this version. There's not really any rules this time, other than that I can't include any casting choices on this list that I've already talked about earlier in the superhero special. Keep in mind that this list is mostly based on my own personal opinions, which will definitely be different than your opinions. But if you agree with me, great, tell me about it in the comments. And if you don't agree with me, well then tell me about that too. Bad as these performances are, it's like a band-aid. You just gotta rip them off really quick and get it over with. So get ready, we're going in. Zendaya as MJ. There are only 4 casting choices in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe that I don't like, and all of them found their way onto this list. But first up is Zendaya as MJ. After doing some research, I learned that the Marvel Cinematic Universe MJ might not actually be the same person as Mary Jane Watson. So if she's a completely different character, then why is her nickname still MJ? Zendaya is lanky and black. No, I'm not racist, but Mary Jane isn't black. She's the bubbly girl next door. Think about it this way. How would you feel if for the next James Bond movie they cast Alexander Skarsgård and made Bond Swedish? Pretty pissed off, right? Because Bond has always been a British character. Even if the producers tried to justify it by saying he's not the same person as James Bond, it doesn't make sense for him to still be called James Bond if he's not actually James Bond. I've got no problem with Zendaya being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe Spider-Man movies, but naming her character MJ doesn't accomplish anything. Why didn't they just create a new character for Peter to be crushing on, since Liz from Homecoming already graduated? Mickey Rourke as Ivan Vanko. Iron Man 2 was so boring that nobody really seemed to notice how bad Mickey's performance is in this movie. I didn't see him in any of the other lists that I found while writing this script. With a name like Ivan Vanko, it's obvious that the character is Russian, but Mickey Rourke is American. His attempt at a Russian accent isn't too bad, but he sounds more like FPS Russia than an actual person from Russia. The only part about his performance that I thought was really good was the look on his face when he gets taken away after literally chopping a race car in half. And this scene where Tony talks to him before he gets arrested. And that's it. For the main antagonist of the movie, he really doesn't leave a lasting impact or really do that much. I mean, they don't even have a rematch at the end of the movie. Instead, Tony and Rhodey just fight an army of unmanned drones. It would have taken a lot more than just a better casting choice for Whiplash to fix Iron Man 2. It seems kind of ironic that the character that started the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe has some of the most mediocre solo movies, because Iron Man 1 is the only one that I really like. Iron Man 2 is boring, like I already mentioned, and Iron Man 3 is very divisive. Some people loved it and others hated it. Me? I'm somewhere in the middle. And considering how consistently great most of Phase 3 was, with only a few exceptions, it's hard to believe that the same studio is responsible for this underwhelming disappointment. Ryan Reynolds as Hal Jordan. Here's a classic case of right guy, wrong role. Ryan Reynolds is a charmingly snarky leading man who uses self-deprecation to deflate his own superstar ego. That worked perfectly for Deadpool's wisecracking Wade Wilson, but it made no sense at all for Green Lantern, aka Hal Jordan. The result was one of the biggest box office bombs of all time. Honestly, it's not just Reynolds that made the movie flop, it's the little things, like the bad CGI, the strange choice to make the Green Lantern suits animated, and crappy pacing and cheesy dialogue. Oh yeah, and you can't forget the ample amounts of exposition. So much exposition. They explained the lore of the Green Lantern Corps at the beginning with a voiceover, and then they explain it all over again when Hal is recruited into the Corps. We're not dead horses. Why did they think we needed to be beaten with sticks? Edward Norton as Bruce Banner. Edward Norton is not a bad actor. He was great in Fight Club, but as you should all know, the first rule of Fight Club is that you don't talk about Fight Club. Norton isn't really bad in this movie, but he's pretty forgettable. Mark Ruffalo brings a bit of vulnerability and mystery to the role, but Norton plays Bruce like just a regular guy. I really like how Mark Ruffalo played Bruce in the first Avengers. He walks around the entire movie as if he's afraid he's going to explode. I love it. That's pretty much all I have to say, but I also want to mention another miscast in the same movie, Liv Tyler as Betty. I don't really feel comfortable calling Liv Tyler a bad actress because I've only ever seen her in Lord of the Rings, but she's just awful in The Incredible Hulk. She whispers all her lines in this breathy, airy voice, but then there's this one scene where she just starts screaming out of nowhere. It's so random that it makes me laugh every time.
Are you out of your mind? What is wrong with you?
What's the matter, baby? You don't like a good ride?
January Jones as Emma Frost. January Jones was so amazing as Betty Draper on Mad Men, yet she's been really terrible at plenty of other things, most notably as Emma Frost, aka the White Queen, in X-Men First Class. I can't give the casting director too much crap though, because the decision almost makes sense. She definitely looks the part, and nobody is going to complain about all the cleavage her outfits show off, but it's almost like they only looked at Jones's headshots and never actually screen tested her. Maybe if they had, they might have learned in advance that she plays the character more like a comatose Stepford wife, and less like the coyly manipulative powerhouse Emma Frost is in the comics. Mistakes, as they say, were made. But even if a different actress had been cast, the character still has very little to do in the movie. Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider is already cool. He's a demonic biker with a flaming skull, for crying out loud. So then why is Nicolas Cage trying so hard to convince us he's cool in this movie? The smug satisfaction that he delivers each line with gets old after just 5 minutes. It seems like Cage really wants you to be impressed with his performance in this movie, but we can't since it ends up missing the mark so much that you wonder if he even read the script before his first day on set. Even his attempts at jokes are forced. It's not as though Ghost Rider is impossible to make work outside of comics. Just watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. if you want to see the character done right. Cage's portrayal of Ghost Rider is so one-dimensional that a piece of paper would have done a better job. He tries so hard to convince us that Ghost Rider is cool, and there's nothing less cool than that. But I did hear a rumor that Norman Reedus, aka Daryl Dixon from a little show called The Walking Dead, maybe you've heard of it, would be interested in playing Ghost Rider in the potential Marvel Cinematic Universe reboot. Yes, now we're cooking with gas. Halle Berry as Catwoman. The only good thing about 2004's Catwoman is, well, Halle Berry. This woman is gorgeous. She's 52 years old as I'm recording this, which means she was around 38 years old in this movie. Until I did the math, my original guess was 24 or 25, tops. She looks amazing. Until she dons the dominatrix-like leather uniform and prances around hissing at dogs. Halle Berry in a catsuit sounds good on paper, until you see it come to life. Because of the mediocre script, she comes off silly and not the least bit sexy or heroic. And like many other movies on this list, a better casting for the lead wouldn't even make a difference. The plot is a mess, the action scenes are choppy and spastic, and the main character's origin is ridiculous. Catwoman's usual alter ego is Selina Kyle, a skilled burglar who dresses like a cat, but this movie is about Patience Phillips, a graphic designer for a cosmetics company who receives cat-like superpowers when a magical cat saves her from drowning. So instead of a girl that dresses like a cat, we get a girl that becomes a cat. This movie is so bad, it'll make you want to drown kittens. George Clooney as Batman. All the casting is garbage in Joel Schumacher's 2 Batman movies, but in my opinion, the 2 worst ones are George Clooney as Batman, and one other character that we'll get to later, even though you probably already know who it is. Normally, George Clooney is a great actor, but it's almost like he wasn't even trying here. Even Val Kilmer did a better job as Batman. Clooney's line delivery is sleepy during action sequences, and his fight choreography is awkward and lazy. He also looks terrible in the costume. Yes, this was probably the worst iteration of the Batsuit ever conceived. Bat nipples. But Clooney didn't do it any favors. His small frame combined with his soft face makes him look less like the Dark Knight, and more like a kid who found his parents' bondage gear. Clooney has made some great movies over the years, but Batman and Robin was not one of them. He barely looks capable of saving Robin, let alone all of Gotham City. If it wasn't for Christopher Nolan, the Batman movie franchise would have died with a pathetic whimper. just like Loki after the Hulk smashed him in the Avengers. Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. I don't think Brie Larson is pretty at all. She has no curves, no boobs, and no ass. I know I sound really shallow, but hear me out. This is how Captain Marvel has always looked in the comics. So rather than cast a girl with an hourglass figure, they cast Brie Larson, who's practically a stick figure. As if that wasn't already bad enough, she brings absolutely nothing to the role. Throughout the entire movie, she just seems bored. Almost like she was blackmailed into taking the job. If you want someone that I think would have been way better in the role, look no further than Yvonne Strahovski from Chuck. She's blonde, has a gorgeous body, and she shows a much wider range of emotions in her performances. Plus, in Chuck, she did all of her own fighting using her background as a dancer. Brie Larson is not a bad actress, but I think she's just not right for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I mean, what was the point of introducing Captain Marvel in between Infinity War and Endgame when Carol barely has 20 minutes of total screen time in Endgame? They hyped her up as being easily the most powerful character in the entire franchise, so then why was she so underused? Also, that haircut makes her look like a lesbian. All she needs now is a pair of Birkenstocks. Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. And in the same movie with the worst Batman ever, we also had Arnold as Mr. Freeze. On the poster, his name was billed higher than either of the titular leads, possibly because he gave the best performance in the movie, but that isn't saying much. In the comics, Mr. Freeze was one of Batman's more generic adversaries, until the awesome 90s animated series rewrote his backstory, adding depth and tragedy to the character. Mr. Freeze is a scientist that uses a freeze ray in battle, so can someone please explain to me how the casting director thought that a former bodybuilder would be a good fit for the role? In the movie, Mr. Freeze is trying to cure his terminally ill wife, but he seems more concerned coming up with cheesy ice puns and one-liners. It's hard to emphasize with him when he's jumping up and down while screaming at his hockey player henchmen. Arnold somehow managed to make Mr. Freeze more of a cartoon character than he was in the actual cartoon. Oh, hey there! You guys done? Did you like the video? I know, it's pretty cool, huh? If you want more, you can click right here. There's a whole playlist full of other stuff for you to check out. Pretty proud of all of them, because they're pretty cool. Also, if you want to follow me over on Patreon, that'd be really awesome of you, because then you can like pledge money to me, and then I can make even more cool videos with all the money, so that'd be a lot of fun. See this? It's Patreon. It's a little thing there. Follow the link. It's on my channel page, and there's also one in the description of this video. And one last thing before I head out, go ahead and click the subscribe button right over here. No, here. It moves around a lot because YouTube keeps redesigning the site. Yeah, click right here, and then you can subscribe to my channel. And if you want to, you can even be notified by email anytime I upload another cool video. So, lots of fun stuff for you to check out. I gotta get back to work. See you guys later. Peace.